morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you, Jim Pugliese.
Good morning.
I'm Dave Manzano, Sr., your 2025 GSAR President, along with our CEO, Virginia Tuttle, and our fantastic staff here at the GSAR. Please remember to sign in. It's important that you sign in before we get going so you get the credit for today's class. If you attend all 4 Raising the Bars or 3 Raising the Bars and Community Day, which will be held on April 11th at the Embassy Dynasty, you'll be eligible to receive a 20% discount on your 2026 GSAR dues. So please don't forget to do that. If you're attending online, please stay on screen for the whole event. And please be professional. We're watching. And if you're in person, we'd rather not. If you're in person, please silence your phones. I'd also like to recognize and thank our 2025 package sponsors, our Platinum, Lang Law, Salve Bank again, Empower FCU, Northern Credit Union, Community Bank. Those are our Platinum. How about a round of applause for them? Our Gold sponsors are AmeriQ, Supreme Lending, M&T Bank, Tompkins Community Bank, Hinman, Howard and Cattell, Fulton Savings Bank, Gaddis Federal, Genesee Regional Bank, and Premium Mortgage. How about a nice round of applause for our Gold? And our Silver sponsorship, CFCU, Cross Country Mortgage, the Law Office of Robert Carter, the New York State Association of Realtors, Prime Lending, and Mancuso and Brightman PLLC. Nice round of applause for them. Okay. We have a fabulous and possibly familiar speaker joining us today. Our speaker is a corporate culture expert and the author of, I got corrected, 8 books now on the subject of humor, laughter, and joy. She's the recipient of the Zonta Crystal Award, the SOHO Business Award, and the Woman in Leadership Award. She appeared nationally on ABC TV, most recently on The Harry Show with Harry Connick Jr., and has taken her humor seminars to over 8,000 corporations and groups nationally. Yvonne spent the past 10 years in Fort Myers, Florida, but Hurricane Ian scared the you-know-what's out of her, and she moved back to Syracuse. Smart move. She's very happy to be here with us today, this morning, so let's please give her a really good round of applause. Yvonne Conte.
Thank you so much, Dave. Dave's been a friend of mine we just figured it out, 35 years when we were both 12. So that works out. Yeah, and my hair was dark black, but I don't know what happens. But I'm here today, and I'm so grateful that you asked me to come and speak with you about the positive power of humor, laughter, and joy. Topics that I've spent the past 30 years working on and learning about and sharing with people all over the country. And I think we need it now more than ever. We need to come together as a country and love one another. But anyway, the positive power of humor. I start with this statement: pain is inevitable. It's the suffering part in the pain that's optional, right? We all have things happen to us, but how we choose to react to it is what makes the difference. Well, I've got an Aunt Frances that just loves to suffer. And whenever you go to visit her, she lives in Utica, New York. I know that's across the bear in itself, but that's a whole nother thing. But whenever you go to visit Aunt Frances, you make the mistake of saying, "How are you?" She tells you for the rest of the visit, "You don't know what happened. That motorcycle went right over my lawn. Oh, my God, I can't." It's constant. And so she exhausted herself of all of her complaints. She went to bed. The next morning she woke up and she's trying to think of something else she might have forgot to tell me, Yvonne, I think I'm shrinking. Maybe someday you'll just disappear. You have to find a way over, around, and through those people and situations that try to bring you down when you're doing the very best you can to stay positive and uplifted and happy. Because I got news for you. You can't sell anything if you're miserable, right? I look at people, I go to Wegmans and I have this little thing. I try to smile at 10 people and get 10 people to smile back at me before I leave. Sometimes I'm there for a long time. I can't understand why people walk around like they're really miserable. I mean, the guy's buying strawberries. What are you so miserable about? Unless maybe they're buying X-Lax. That's a whole different thing. You can understand that. But, why look so, everybody, oh, fa. So I've done a lot of research about laughter, the physical act of laughing. And I found that laughter and humor is so important to our mental and physical health. It helps us to stay healthy and it helps us to stay positive. Well, I did more research and found that little children laugh up to 400 times a day. And by the time we're 35, it's reduced to just 15 chuckles. So if laughter and humor is important, we need to figure out how did we get from 400 to 15 and what can we do to get laughing again? And I think I figured it out. Because what is the first thing you do when you see a baby? You try to get the baby to do what? Yeah, smile, laugh. I've seen intelligent people pick up a baby and act like a moron. Have you seen it? Well, and the baby laughs at them and they think they did something. Look at that, I made the kid laugh. We know that's gas, but they don't know. They think they just made, So their reaction teaches that baby that laughter and silliness is good. And they continue. They're 2, they're 3, they're 4 years old. The mom's, oh my God, taking videos, putting them on Facebook. Look, my kid is perfect. She laughs. She's so silly, blah, blah, blah. And we continue to reinforce in that child that if you're silly, we're going to love you till the cows come home, right? Until that same child becomes 9 years old. And we've had it. Their silliness is driving us off the road, right? So what do we say to the kid when they're 9 years old and they're jumping in the back seat and acting silly? Knock it off! What's wrong with you? My mother used to say that to me so much. Honestly, every time I turned to her, what is wrong with you? And she said it as if it was paining her. She'd go, what is wrong with you? What are you? So first day of school, teacher says, stand in front of class, say your name and a little something about you. I stood in front of the class, a nervous wreck. I said, my name is Yvonne Conte, and there's something wrong with me. I didn't know what it was, but I knew there was something. She told me every day, right? So the teacher wrote it down on a piece of paper, and I took the paper home. My mother looked at it and said, dear Mrs. Conte, exactly what is wrong with Yvonne? And she read the paper, hit me in the head and said, what is wrong with you telling people these things? So we erase and suppress that wonderful sense of humor that we are all born with, and we become terminally serious adults. And we know who those people are. They're in every business, every family, every neighborhood. These are people that are in charge. They've got a lot of responsibility. They can't be walking around being silly and goofy because they must be respected. We call these people anal retentive people. Honey, if that's you, bend over, let the panties out, and relax a little bit today. This whole story is all for you, to learn how to relax and just enjoy life more. So right now, I want you to understand this concept a little bit. So pick somebody next to you or, in front of you, behind you, to be your humor partner for just a minute. Now look right at your partner. Look right at your partner. Oh my gosh. And repeat after me. You ready? What? Look right at your partner and repeat after me. Look at her and say, I'm so glad I'm not you. Now, I had you say, I'm so glad I'm not you for 2 reasons. The first one is it helps me to see who really needs the program because there's a few in the back that went, I'm sorry, she made me say that before I realized. If that's you, relax. The second reason I had you say, I'm so glad I'm not you, is because I want you to understand this concept. I know that I can handle everything the Lord gives me, and I know that you can handle everything he gives you. I'm not so sure we can handle each other's stuff. And I am a Christian girl, comes out when I speak. I can't help that. But I know I have to be politically correct. So if there's any atheists or anything like that in the room, let me apologize ahead of time and I will pray for you later. So here's the thing. 75% of all the conversation in the world today is negative. I mean, all you got to do is look on Facebook or turn on the TV, right? 75%. So figure it out. If you're trying the best you can to stay positive and 75 people out of 100 are pouring on all their negativity, it makes it difficult. And I know this is true because I am from Syracuse. Well, I was born in Utica, but lived here my whole life since I was 9, except for my hurricane adventure. And we know it snows here. We know how to take care of the snow. We start the car, we warm up the car, we brush off the car. This is a no-brainer, right? Well, I was living in Westvale for quite a while, and the guy that lived next door to me comes out of his house, walks over to his great big huge monster truck, brushes off this much snow on the windshield, looks over at me and goes, "Can you believe this?" I'm like, "Well, it's December. Kind of expected it." Off he goes. He's as mad as he could be because it snowed, just to ruin his day. And then the other girl on the other side of me, she goes to St. John Fisher College in Rochester. She's so happy she's catching snowflakes on her tongue. She goes over to her piece of junk car. She brushes off every little speck of snow and she goes, "Isn't that great? It's just in time for the holiday." I don't like either one of these people. They both are a little annoying. But you know what? I learned something that day that I think is vital. The same exact thing can happen to 3 different people at exactly the same time, in exactly the same way, and we can have 3 entirely different reactions. The way that we react to the circumstance in life has everything to do with how much we suffer in life. I have a girlfriend in Tennessee who lost her daughter. She passed away. That's a horrible thing. I don't wish that on anyone. But since her daughter passed away, which it's been now almost 22 years, she's unhappy. She stays in the house. She doesn't go anywhere. It's woe is me. It's pray about it or something, but get over it, and not get over it, but get through it. Maybe talk more about her. That's the way you remember people and are, show your pride in them. And then there's one of my girlfriends here in Syracuse who lost her daughter. And she started Hope for Heather and is saving millions with the money she's raising through her charity for cancer. You make a choice when things bad happen. I'm going to tell you about my little trip to Florida. I bought a condo in Florida because I thought, well, I'm a senior citizen. That's what we do. And I was living in both places because I had a nice little apartment at my daughter's house, and I went and got my condo. I wasn't really crazy about Florida. I lived on this big place with, everybody was playing tennis and golfing, but mostly they were just drinking. And so it's not my thing, So, I stayed in my little condo. The weather was good and I did all my writing and stuff there. And then I'd come back to Syracuse for holidays and things like that. So it worked out until Hurricane Ian. I was in Fort Myers, which is where Ian hit the worst. And the funny part about it was I was traveling. So I was speaking, I think I was in Indiana. So I came home that night and I heard whispers of people talking about a hurricane, but I didn't worry about it. I get to my condo and I'm taking my roller bag and my neighbor says, "Are you ready for the hurricane?" I said, "What hurricane?" She goes, "Hurricane Ian, it's too late to even leave. You got to get ready." I said, "Well, what are you supposed to do? Fill your bathtub up with water." "What?" "And fill all your containers with water because we won't have water. We won't have electricity. Get a candle ready, blah, 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 all these things." I'm doing them, but I'm thinking this isn't going to happen. I called my daughter. I said, "Hey, watch the news. It's probably nothing." I said, "The lady next door told me to get in my walk-in closet and just sit there until it's over. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a blanket, a pillow, and, I'll wait it out." When I first went in the closet, all I could think of is, what the hell do I have all these shoes for? And I said, that's it. I got to stop buying shoes. Clearly, I don't need any more shoes. But anyway, it started getting windy, and honestly, it was the worst experience I've ever had in my life, and I've been married twice. So I'm divorced. I would have rather been a widow, but he fought me on that too. I went. Anyway, I'm in this closet. I really went in there thinking it was going to be nothing, but I was in that closet for almost 18 hours with no light, no water, no nothing, and all I heard was trees snapping. The people next door to me, their whole roof came off, so it was smashing into my place, and I thought I was dying. I really did. So I said my prayers. I said, Lord, I'm ready to come home. If this is the way you want me to come, okay, just don't hurt me because I can't take pain. And that was it. But as soon as it was over, I got in touch with my daughter. I said, I'm coming home. I don't want to live here anymore. Find me someplace to live, blah, blah, blah. And I made arrangements to come home. Well, it was 9 days before we had electricity, water, bathroom facilities. It was terrible, terrible. You had to go in a bucket. It was awful, most humiliating thing I've ever been through. And then when you finally get in your car to drive out of the community and you see the wreckage, it's devastating. It's never like what it is on TV. It's always worse. So I finally get home. I drove after the 9 days. They had cleared the roads enough so you could go home. I go home. And of course, my daughter, the minute she sees me, we all both cry, and this and that. And my little grandson, he was 14 at the time. Noni, let me make you a cup of tea. I said, oh, okay, Jack, that would be nice. Now, I have not smiled or laughed. Now it's 11 days. He sits me down in the kitchen. He makes me tea. He comes over, he gives me the tea, and he puts his little hand on my knee, and he said, Noni, what was the worst part? I said, oh, Jack, the worst part was being in that closet for 18 hours. He said, seriously, Noni? I was in a closet for 12 years. Get over yourself. I almost fell off the floor. I said, and my daughter's in the other room. You were never in a closet, Jack. You came out with pink leotards on. So we laughed. You know how precious that laugh was, to know that I could still laugh. After all of that, it was such a blessing that he gave me that bit of laughter. It was almost like saying, you're going to be okay. You can still laugh. That's the best part, right? Well, when we've got things happening to us like that, and like, COVID, and like anything else that's happening in your life, we need some ammunition when those things happen to us. And I got something called the 80-20 rule. You never want to be the whiner and the complainer, because nobody really likes that. 80% of the people you tell your troubles to really don't care. The other 20% are kind of glad it happened to you. So fun. You never know. So we're going to try to get, did I do something wrong? Oh, thank you. Can you hear me without it?
The people online.
Oh, the people online. Well, the people online must have missed it. They should have come here. I'm just saying. Okay. Thank you for fixing that. Okay. So we're going to try to get over the fear of foolishness, because that's what stops people from being silly. Now, I'm not asking you to be a stand-up comic. I'm not asking you to be a joke teller. I'm asking you to look at life differently so that you could see the good instead of the bad. And I'm telling you, it's easy, because and it's not even about making a fool of yourself. It's just about being silly a little bit and being a more positive person. You won't die, your IQ won't drop, and your friends won't abandon you. Matter of fact, if you had time off this afternoon and you wanted to spend some time with some friends, I don't think you'd look at your phone and say, gee, which one of my miserable friends can I call today? No, you want the positive, happy, uplifting people. So it's a good to be that way, because when you are that way, when you're positive, people want to be around you. They want to help you. They want to work with you. The miserable people we try to cut out of their life, right? Well, Norman Cousins was a UCLA professor, and he studied the power of humor. This is a long time ago. He has a book called Human Options. You should find it and read it if you have anyone in your life that is really, really sick with with a disease because he studied how powerful laughter is. In fact, he was in the hospital in excruciating pain. They were giving him morphine every 2 hours just so he could be pain-free for 2 hours. And he found that if he laughed really hard for just 10 minutes, he didn't need the morphine and could go 2 hours without it. I almost fell off the chair when I read that because that's powerful. That's the power of humor. So he tested, yes, ma'am. I didn't know we were going to do, huh?
Author and the name again?
Oh, Norman Cousins. He was a UCLA professor. He was a publisher at Saturday. He was published in Saturday Review. But he did a lot of brain research and how laughter affects us physically and mentally, which I'm going to go into even more so. So he's in the hospital and he tells everybody, bring me anything and everything that'll make me laugh. So they had like, at the time, videos of the Marx Brothers and the Three Stooges and all of that. And he would laugh and laugh and laugh. Well, the nurse came in one morning and said, Norman, it's time for your morning urine sample. She hands him a cup and, you know, she leaves the room, gives him a little privacy. He looks at the cup, he looks at his apple juice. He pours the apple juice into the cup. She comes back in a few minutes later. He picks it up to go and says, wow, that's a brilliant color. You know, you're right. Let's run that through again. And she fainted. But he got the laugh that he was after. And he just kept on laughing. And he kept on studying laughter long after he got out of the hospital. He said how you look has everything to do with how you feel. And listen, when we look in the mirror, we've had a good hair day or our complexion looks nice or whatever, or we think maybe some hair grew back. We feel good, right? When we wake up in the morning and we've slept wrong and our whole face is all mashed in, we're like, oh, yeah. You know, I mean, how we look has so much to do with how we feel. And I'm going to say this. I've been all over this country. I don't know why people go to the store in their pajamas here. I don't know why. But I will tell you something. The job, I've had a lot of jobs in my life. I've had this one for a long time, but the job, realtors are the best dressed people on the earth. Realtors always look like $1 million. And I noticed that the minute, because I used to sell Ryan Homes a long time ago. It wasn't my thing because I didn't know anything about it. But I was the #1 salesperson for him. But I sold not because I knew about the house, because I used to pay the guys in the carpenters and stuff. I got this lady, she's going to ask me 1 million questions. Can you come? I'd buy him lunch and he'd answer all the questions. All I knew was that if you moved the mirror, you could see the back of your hair. I didn't know anything else about Ryan Homes. And yet I was #1. You want to know why? My father can teach us why. Because my father was the salesman. He died in 1995. But in the 60s and 70s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, he sold permanent stainless steel cookware to people's houses. Do you have a set? You can run them over with a truck. They're never going to, yeah. They're the best. And it was a new thing back then, permanent stainless steel. And I'll tell you how he got the job, which is amazing. I just been doing some research about it. My father was injured in the service, and he was in a wheelchair. And he was working at Valley View Golf Course in Utica, in the concession stand. But he was so crippled that when people came for a drink or something, they would have to come behind him, make the stuff, and then put the money down because he couldn't even open his hands. And there was a man there named Johnny LaForest. He was from Rochester. And he marveled over how my father was able to connect with these people. He knew their names. He asked about their children. He said, how was your game? He remembered what they did last time they came. He just took such an interest in these people. And this man was marveled over it. And so he said, Mr. Conte, would you like to come and work for me at Permanent Stainless Steel Corporation? And my father thought he was making fun of him. He said, well, I can't do that kind of thing. I can't walk. And he said, you can do it. Trust me. So he convinced my father to quit that job and start working for him. Guess what? My father ended up being vice president in charge of sales. He was the #1 salesperson in the nation for Permanent Stainless Steel Corporation. And he did it from a wheelchair. And he never, ever complained. I am so proud of him. But he I used to go with him on the dinner parties because he couldn't do it, So I used to carry all the big black suitcases and unpack the cookware, make do the dinner, make the dinner, serve the dinner, clean the dishes. I did all that for him for $5. But I'm telling you, it was the best $5 I ever made because I learned so much from him. And everywhere we went in Syracuse, people knew Daddy. We'd be in some, hey, Frankie, how you doing? And he would always know the guy's name. Jim, how the heck are you? Blah, blah, blah. How's your wife? Is your kid still going to school in Cobleskill or whatever it was? And one time I asked him, I said, Dad, how do you know that guy? Oh, for crying out. Don't you remember? About 9 years ago, I sold him a small set of cookware. They lived in Pompey. Remember they had that white fence and all them cats? I mean, he would remember every sickin' thing about him. Oh, I did it again, my nut. I talk with my hands, honey, I'm Italian. I'll tell you what, we'll fix it this way. Okay. Hey, you gotta do this. I won't.
Oh, no. Do you have a pocket?
I don't have enough pockets. Make you look fat. All right, so there we are. Maybe now we won't, I'll just keep my hands up here. So what I was trying to tell you was, I don't even know where I was, but anyway, I just want you to know that, oh, so Daddy, yeah, he remembered those people and everything about them. And he said to me, when you decide what you want to do for a living, he said, find something where the end result is helping someone else. And when you find that, you have found your perfect purpose in life. Yeah. So I said, the smart ass that I was as a kid, well, you sell pots and pans and they're very expensive. How's that helping anybody but you? Because back then, they were like $400 a set, which was a lot for back then. Now they're over $1,500 a set. But anyway, he said, I don't sell pots and pans, honey. I sell good health for the families that buy these pots because they were waterless and it was a healthier way to eat. And I looked at that and I thought, he's right. So when he sells that cookware, he doesn't think about the cookware. He thinks about what he's doing for those families. And you have the same opportunity. You sell a house, you don't just sell a house. That's not what you're really selling. I'm sure you all know this because I was told everybody's pretty successful. When you sell a house, you're selling comfort, security. You're selling a place where people can come together as a family. I mean, you're selling memories being made in this. A house is such a precious thing. And I'm telling you, if you look at it as to what it is you're actually giving your customers, it has nothing to do with the windows and the doors. It has to do with the feeling that you're giving them when I can't wait to get home at night. Take my bra off. That's the first thing I do. I can't wait. And I can do that because every one of my windows looks out into trees and nobody can see me. So there you go. I love it. I love it. I love it. So when my father passed away in 1995, we were devastated as a family. Even though we knew he was very sick and he wasn't going to make it, we still, whenever you lose anybody, your heart's broken. So my mother said, I want everybody to come to the house. He died in September. Everybody come to the house. You're going to have a Christmas just like we always did. She talks like that because she was born in Pennsylvania. I don't get it. So she said, I put the tree up. Everybody come. We're going to have the lights just like you, Father. Okay, Ma. So we go. We put the tree up. We put the lights up for her. Everything is just like it always was. We sit around the big dining room table, all that wonderful food. We all helped her prepare. Nobody was really eating. My one sister was crying. She does that for a living now. And I thought to myself, my father's up on a cloud, talking to his cronies, having a glass of wine, thinking, I taught you to have fun down there. You act like a bunch of stupid-loons. What's wrong with you? So I bought every member of my family a $1 red sponge clown nose. Do you have that picture? Well, I show the picture because I don't want you to think I'm lying. It's a common. It's a common. I gave every member of my family a $1 red sponge clown nose. Now, I got to tell you, we wore these noses all through dinner, all through, there they are. We wore them all through dinner, all through opening the gifts. You might recognize some people in there. And my mother made us take them off to go to midnight mass. But what happened is it changed our mood for the moment. This nose is not going to cure cancer, but it might help someone through 1 hour or 1 day of cancer. What it did for us, you can leave it up, sweetheart. What it did for us is it made us laugh at one another. I mean, think of the most miserable person in your family. They're at the table going, how long we got to wear these stupid things? You know, you just laugh at them because, you know, so it changes the way you feel. And after Daddy passed away, every year, one of my sisters is in charge of bringing whatever's funny to the party. So we have something different, a little different than when Daddy was with us. One year, my sister Jackie brought those big shoes. Everybody was falling down. Aunt Frances kept saying, I've fallen and I can't get up. But it makes you laugh. Whatever you can do to get yourself to laugh a little bit, that's the beauty of humor. It helps you through. But here's the thing. This is what actually happens whenever you laugh. In fact, hold on to your tummies. You just ate. So hold on to your tummies and hold on to your tummies. Grab that roll and laugh as hard as you can. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Here's the thing. If you can do that, laugh out loud like that every single day, here's what happens. The effects of laughter are so great. There's something in our body called cortisol. It's connected to our immune system. Every time we laugh out loud, we're fighting off infectious disease. Your blood pressure drops, your heart rate lowers, your mood elevates, you're more productive. People work better together when they're laughing. It promotes teamwork. It builds confidence, encourages problem solving. It builds relationships when you can laugh with somebody, prevents burnout. Laughter reduces fear, promotes trust in people, which we need as salespeople. Stimulates creativity, promotes good health, and brings people together. Why don't we laugh more? You know? When I heard this, Stanford University said 20 seconds of good hard belly laughter, like we just tried to do, is equal to 3 minutes of strenuous rowing. Oh. I was so happy because I am an Italian girl. I like to eat, but I don't like to exercise. I do exercise when I can force myself because I know I have to, but I don't really love it, right? When I heard 20 seconds of belly laughter is equal to 3 minutes of strenuous rowing, I was thrilled, and I make sure I get that laughter first thing every morning. I stand in front of a full-length mirror stark naked, and I just laugh. And now that I'm a certain age, it's easier to laugh, you know. Some of you will already know that, others will find out soon. I think the best place for me to find silly things is with my grandchildren. I'm telling you, they are so funny. When Joseph is 18, but when he was like 5, I was at my daughter's house. She's got the hardwood floors, you know, and I had socks on. We were both at the top of the stairs. I fell down. I hit every step. I screamed bloody murder all the way down the stairs. I'm like, okay, they're putting me in a home. I'm going to break my hip. That's the end of it. Just as I was about to cry, Joseph is at the top step. Me go now, Noni, my turn. And I'm like, somebody throw that kid down the stairs, you know? He saw it as fun. He saw it as fun. We got to start looking at life like a kid does, right? I mean, when Jack was in grade school, Aubrey called me. She said, Mom, Jack got such a good report card. His teacher said he's one of the best readers in the whole school. He reads 3 levels above his grade level. I said, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. I'm so proud of him. Let me talk to him. Jack gets on the phone. I said, Jack, Noni heard that you are a very good reader. He goes, Noni, I can read a book with my eyes closed. They say things that are hysterical. I'm telling you, if you have grandchildren, start a journal and write down everything they say, because by the time they're 18, you could give it to them as a gift. It's a great little gift because they see all the funny things they did. I think it's hysterical. So, and this is a little off, but I think I can tell you guys this. I took Jack when he was little to Target to shop. Now, I'm kind of I'm nervous about germs. So whenever we're in a public bathroom, I tell the kids, all right, just put your hands on your head. Don't touch nothing. So he's there, you know, watering the lilies. We went to the family one so I could be there with him. And I said, all right, Jack, now stand over here and just don't touch anything. Noni's got to go. I got myself situated to go potty, and Jack's like this. He goes, wow, Noni, that is big. He looked at my butt. He said it was big. And I laughed so hard. I told my daughter, she goes, Mom, he's going to have to go to therapy. He's never seen a butt that big. He's only seen his brother's butt is this big, you know? And by the way, anybody ever shop at Witty Wicks in Camillus? That's my daughter's store. So when you go in there, because she absolutely loves this, when you go in there, say, I know your mother. Because she goes, you know how many people come in and say, I know your mother? Yeah, I know, I've been telling them for years. But here's the thing, 16 major organs in your body are positively affected, not that one, Dave, every time you laugh out loud. I want you guys to try to laugh a little bit more because it really is so, so good for you. Here's a little something about the positive power of humor. After one of my talks, a lady came up to me and she said, I have to tell you this story. I said, okay. And she said, my husband passed away a couple of months ago and I could not stop crying. I mean, it was the greatest loss I've ever experienced. And I was just so saddened by it. And my sister-in-law said, we're going to the Bahamas and you're coming with us because you need to get out of this house and change your pace. So she said, I went, and it did stop me from crying. I was looking at so many beautiful things and it was such a lovely vacation. And on the last day, we were seated in a restaurant overlooking the ocean. And the food was delicious. The view was fantastic. The music was delightful. And all I could think of is, oh my God, my husband would have loved this. And in that moment, she said, I burst into tears. And it was the uncontrollable tears. She was sobbing. And everybody around her stopped talking. They were all kind of looking at her. And at that moment, the waitress came and put the check down. And her sister-in-law looks up at her and goes, she does this every time the check comes. And in that moment, she burst into laughter. That is the positive power of humor. I'm not saying your whole life is going to change and everything's going to be perfect. I'm saying if you can get somebody to laugh when they're having a difficult time, you're giving them such a gift. Well, what happens if you can't find a way to laugh? What happens if you can't find a way, you get all stressed out, right? Now, I got to tell you, for me, pretty much the only thing that stresses me out anymore is traffic. I fly most of the time to go speak. I'm very grateful for today because I just fell out of bed and came here. It was wonderful. But you know, flying can be difficult, especially now, but I have no control over that. So I just bring enough to read and I just take it. I go a day early and I'll make it okay. But if I get to the place and they say, now, if you could just rent a car and drive to our luxurious resort, you know, an hour and a half west, I hate that because I don't like driving. I don't like traffic because our traffic here is nothing compared to other cities. And I always feel like insecure about it. And so I always, no matter where I go, I bring my humor tools with me. Now, my daughter was in Manhattan for many years, and my brother, rest his soul, he lived in New Jersey for many years. So whenever I was working in that area, I'd stop and see my daughter a couple days, and then I'd drive down and see my brother in southern New Jersey. Have you ever been on the Garden State Parkway in New Jersey when there's an accident? Oh, you say words you didn't know existed. Everybody there is miserable. They're like this. They all look like they're going to slit your throat. And so I always have my humor tools in the glove compartment with me. Now in New Jersey, this is what they do. Oh, God. So if they won't give me a smile, I give one of mine. And I don't take this off until I get everybody around me to just notice, I got a screw loose. And here's what happens. I want you to try this. They will be in their cars gripping that steering wheel, miserable. And then all of a sudden they'll go, okay. And you'll see their shoulders relax. You see them lessen the grip on the steering wheel. They take a breath. That is the power of humor. It doesn't cure anything. It doesn't make the cars go faster. It just kind of tells us it's not the end of the world. Take a breath. And I'll be 20, 30 miles down the road. People are waving. I think. Oh my goodness. Well, stress, what I'm trying to tell you is, and I copied this from something I read many, many years ago. Stress is not an event. It is merely your reaction based on your perception of the event, and perceptions can be changed. Do you believe that? I believe that as well, but I don't think it's easy, because how come my perception of something can be different from yours? Because of what? Experience. Yeah, my experience might be different from yours. I have been afraid of dogs. I'm 73. I've been afraid of dogs for almost 50 years because I was bitten by a dog when I was a little girl and it scared me, right? Now, how many people in here have dogs? You're going to go home tonight. You're going to be licking each other and hugging, and it's no big deal because you didn't have that experience. So you feel differently about your dog. Well, in order to understand this story, you have to know I have two kids, Aubrey and Johnny. I brought them up in the same house with the same rules at the same time. They turned out entirely different. I have no idea how that happened. But when Aubrey was in Manhattan, honey, I would go to Manhattan. She'd have a car ready for me at the airport. She had dinner reservations, theater tickets. It was all organized. Then I'd go visit Johnny out in Arizona. He forgets to pick me up at the airport. John's a backpack wearing, raise and eat and save the world, hug a tree, kiss a mule. I don't know what he's doing out there. And I would go visit John because I'm his mother and I love him. But I never really, I'm spoiled. I like nice sheets and nice towels, but Johnny is a minimalist. So he has nothing. And he's also an environmentalist. So when I go there, I can't have nothing, right? So Johnny, if I have to bring my towels, my sheets, my pillow, all of that, because when Johnny, if he needs something, like let's say he needs a couch, he goes, gets a tree that's dead, drags it home, makes a couch. No, it's just a tree in your living room, honey. But so nothing is comfortable, kind of like. He lives in a hut in the middle of the desert. So the thing about the sheets is he doesn't use laundry detergent that you and I use. He goes to the hippy dippy love store and he gets laundry detergent that does not suds up. And that's why everything he has is gray, but it's better for the environment. And he doesn't use a dryer. It's the worst thing you can do. He hangs the sheets and everything on a tree to dry. Have you ever slept on a sheet that was dried on the tree? You'll cut your face. And you don't want to use the towels because talk about exfoliation. It's ridiculous. So that's why I bring everything with me. Well, when I called Johnny to tell him I was coming to visit, he tells me he rescued a dog. So I thought, well, he's always rescuing something. Okay, good. That's great, John. No, I thought maybe some dog was in a bowl of water or a pool of water and he just got the dog. It means he went to some mangy place where all these dogs nobody wants, and he took one home with him forever in the hut. And it's not a little dog that you can like put in a pocketbook in the closet. It's a big, huge, mangy, stinky, drippy, yellow lab horse. And so immediately I called my daughter in Manhattan. I said, Aubrey, I can't go there and visit him with a dog in the house. I'll go out of my mind. I said, how about when I go, I'll tell John, hey, how about I'll treat Parker, the dog, to a nice stay at the dog place. They can wash him up, do a sitz bath. He can have his nails done, whatever they do to dogs, I'll pay. He can stay there the whole while I'm visiting. And Aubrey goes, Mom, you can't do that. Parker is your grandson. Oh my gosh. So what I did was I got all the books and tapes and things to help me to change my perception of dogs. And because Aubrey said, why don't you do what you tell people to do in the little skits you do? I'm like, change your perception. So I did. I learned, I did positive affirmations. I watched Old Yeller, Lassie, Rin Tin Tin. I did everything I could to get myself used to dogs. I even put pictures of Parker all around the house. And I went out there to see my grandson. I went to the regional market. I bought him an outfit because they got a dog place there. And, I was going to do this right. I get to the airport, this little rinky-dink airport, and there's Johnny in his piece of junk car and this big stinking dog in the back seat. I opened the door and the dog came to say hello. And I'm like, oh God, I can't. That dog scared the pants off me. So I backed up. I said, I'll take a taxi home. And Johnny says, Ma, you can't, there's no taxi, just get in the car. He said, I know you're afraid of the teeth, so I fixed it. I'm like, what did you do? He looks at Parker, this big dog, and he goes, Parker, no lick. And that dog sat in the back seat of that car all the way to the hut in the hot sun with his mouth shut. Johnny taught the dog whenever he's around me, he's got to keep his mouth shut. If I knew how to do that when Johnny was little, it would have been different, right? So I get in the car. I felt bad for that poor dog all the way. And so we get to the hut. He jumps out. And John does want me to have a good time when I'm there. He tries. He made me a beautiful dinner, a souffle with fruits and nuts and twigs. And we talk about the environment and we talk about politics and everything goes right over my head, but I just say, oh, that's great. And we went to bed. The next day, I got up early. I made a cup of organic coffee. I'm sitting out on the patio overlooking the desert. And there's the dog licking in a bowl of nastiness and dirt and flies and all this stuff. He's in there licking his slobbering all over his fur. And I looked at him and I said, don't even think about coming over here because that ain't happening. And that little dog, big dog, comes halfway, sits down and closes his mouth. Johnny was sleeping. I'm like, wow, that's a trained dog. So he comes over to me. He sits right next to me and looks up at me with the most beautiful brown eyes I think I've ever seen. And I've dated Italian men. So I really wanted to pet the dog. So I got all my positive affirmations in my head and I went, okay, good dog, that's good, all right, good. And I did pet the dog with my elbow. But I will tell you that after a week with this dog, Parker was absolutely my grandson. Oh my gosh, this dog is so protective of me and such a sweetheart. This dog wouldn't hurt a flea. So Johnny is a musician. He's a very good musician. He plays 11 instruments and he wrote the score to a ballet that is done on stilts. I don't know that for sure, but I've seen the show. Anyway, they're on stilts. They're dancing around they're this, And so he says to me, Mom, I got a wonderful opportunity to travel on the Hippy Dippy Love Bus with these dancers all over the Southwest because they're going to be doing festivals and I can go and direct the orchestra because I wrote the music. It's a wonderful opportunity. You never know who I might meet. I don't want to miss it. I said, oh, that's wonderful, Johnny. He goes, but I can't take Parker on the bus. Anyway, you can take him back to New York with you. I said, Johnny, I love Parker, but my house is clean. And I said, try to find somebody else. If you can't find anybody else, of course, I'll take the dog. That's the last thing you should say to your kids because they're never going to look for anybody else. They already got you. So I had Parker with me in Westvale all summer, one summer, and I fell head over heels in love with this dog. So when Johnny came home and said, I'm taking the dog back to Arizona, I said, John, you can't take this dog. I'm in love with this dog. He goes, Mom, Parker is like my son. I'm like, yeah, well, you're my son. I let you go, grow up. So he did take the dog with him and it broke my heart. So now I go visit John even more. I visit John because I love my son. I have to say it's a sacrifice. I usually go during Lent. So He lives in Northern California now. He has a beautiful place and a lovely girlfriend. I'm so happy for him. He's doing really well. But he's still that, you got to read every label and all this jazz. The reason I tell you that long story is because if you don't know the person you're trying to sell to, you won't be able to find them the perfect place to live. And for years, I didn't really know my son. I loved him, but I didn't really understand him because since he was a little kid, he always had these weird ideas. He came home from school one day, he said, Mom, I signed up. I'm going to go to Maine and pick berries for the poor. We are the poor, you moron. It just, he was always doing something like that and driving me nuts. I'm not going to eat anything that has a mother. Yes, you are. Don't worry about, he's going to be a vegan. He's going to do this. It drove me nuts as a mother. And so as he grew up, he continued with these kinds of thoughts of his. Well, one day he calls me to tell me he's going to be singing at this whole list of colleges in the Northeast. I said, oh, Johnny, send me the list of where they are, and I'll call the Barnes and Noble stores there because I have connections with Barnes and Noble stores, and I can get you a gig in their stores, and you'll sell more CDs. And he goes, Mom, please don't do that. I said, why? You're broke. He said, because, Mom, don't you listen to my music? Yeah, it's got a good beat. He says, I write about these big, huge conglomerates that take over, and then the mom and pop store goes out of business. And he said, I could never sell anything in a Barnes and Noble store. It goes against everything I believe in. At that moment, I really understood my son. He doesn't care about money. He doesn't care about fame. He cares about the environment. He cares about people. He cares about things that matter. And I'm telling you, what a difference now. I really do connect with him, and I can really help him. Like if he comes to Syracuse, I know where to get him booked. Anywhere where they don't use underarm deodorant, people love him. So. Now here's what happens when you don't know how to get rid of your stress and worry. Stress and worry cause insomnia, types of paralysis, nervous stomach ulcers, premature aging, wrinkles, loss of concentration, heart disease, headaches, nervous breakdowns, high blood pressure, hair loss, fear, and it weakens the immune system. So we do have to get a hold of our stress and our worry because it's not good for us at all. When I lived in Westvale, it was New Year's Eve, and I heard a crash in the kitchen. So I went in the kitchen, and I see that my window in the kitchen is cracked. And I thought, oh, an icicle must have fell off and hit the window. So I called my insurance company. I got it taken care of. They're going to come the next day. He said, put a sheet or something over it in case it breaks through in the night. Okay, so I did that. I had a glass of wine. I went to bed. And I went upstairs and I thought, let me just look outside, make sure there's no big icicles because I'll knock those off so they don't hit the window. I'm telling you, the whole back side of my house was on the ground because the snow backed up in the gutters. It tore the gutters off, the shingles of the roof. It was terrible. So I had another glass of wine and went to bed. The next day, you know who Laura Han is? She was on TV at the time. She's a good friend of mine. And so I called her up to wish her Happy New Year. And she said, where'd you go last night? I said, I stayed home. I said, but you're not going to believe what happened. And I tell her, she goes, oh, we got to come over with the cameras because other people forgot to brush off their roof. And we got to make sure people, I said, oh, please don't do that. My mother, my sisters, if they see it on TV, if they see me on TV, they're going to have a nervous breakdown. She goes, well, we won't say your name. We'll just film the back of your house. Okay. It wasn't on TV 5 minutes. My sister Jackie calls me. Oh my God, I saw your house on the news. What happened? I said, nothing happened. It was just, I took care of it. The snow broke off some of my shingles and all. Oh my God, when did this happen? New Year's Eve. Were you alone? Yeah, rub that in. And and she goes, what did you do? What did you do? I said, what did I do? I called the insurance company. I went to bed. Oh, I could have never done that. Did you go to your daughters and stay with her? No, what have I got to bother them for? She was all upset over this. She said, I would have been a nervous wreck. Why? Is there something you can do about it that I'm not aware of? I did what I could do. I let the rest of it go. That's how you get over nervousness and stress and all of that and worry. And here's some humor tools you can take home with you just in case you need some. The first one is the ability to see the absurdity in difficult situations. Now, I come from a very large Italian family. I have 9 sisters. Well, 3 really, but then the one's got 6 personalities. You never know who's coming. And we were at the hospital because my mother had to have hip replacement surgery. And so we're all there, you know, we're praying, we're concerned about mom. They're going to take the hip bone out and replace it with a plastic hip or whatever they do. It's a big deal. And so we're all waiting, and they're going to wheel mommy down to surgery. And my father goes, Angela, don't forget to tell the doctor, save that bone for the dog. Oh, dear God. And we all laugh. Even my mother on the, you know, half sedated. Oh, Frank, you know. He did that because he knew that we were nervous and he wanted to cut that nervousness down a little bit. And he did. Even the people taking mom in were laughing. So we go in the waiting room where all my aunts from Utica are with the good pastries. And we go and, you know, telling people we bring food wherever we go. So we go. And my other sister, she says to Daddy, you're making jokes. She could die on that table. You don't know what's going on in there. I looked it up on the internet. They could leave a sponge in her. They got music playing. They're not even paying attention in there. My father goes, my goodness. Can you just relax about this and let it go? He said, here's the thing. Have you ever walked into a room and people stopped talking, but you could feel the tension? You ever done that? Yeah, we all have. Those are negative vibrations that come off of people and affect people, even if they don't know what's been said. He said, we don't want to bring those negative vibrations into this hospital. It'll affect your mother, the nurses, the doctors, and everybody else. Let's just do what we have control over and lift the rest of it up. And that's the best advice I can give anybody, right? So when my father passed away, oh my goodness, my mother gave us a talk. I want everybody to be like a lady, no cry, just be like a lady. She gave us this, we all had to wear the black suits, you know, because you're Italian, you wear black from head to toe. So have you ever gone to pick out a casket? Okay. We go. Yeah. The whole family, aunts, drunkles, cousins, everybody comes. We're all dressed in black from head to toe because that's the law. And we're like a black cloud going across the room. My mother's in the middle with the black lace tablecloth over her head. And we're going to pick out a casket. The guy's got my father's jacket. He's trying to match it to the lining. How crazy is that? This one over here is solid brass handles. That one over there is made of oak. This one here has a lifetime guarantee. And he points to the ugliest casket in the room. It looked like a bullet. And he said, that one is solid stainless steel. And my mother goes, oh my God, that's the one we want for Frankie. We look at her. She goes, he was in pots and pans his whole life. Oh my gosh, we laughed so hard. Now she wants me to tell you we didn't put him in that cheap casket. We put him in a really expensive one. It was the Last Supper carved all along the bottom. Beautiful. So we're at the funeral and they're closing the casket. That's the worst time ever. They're closing the casket and I had kept it together until that moment. And then I could feel I was going to cry. I didn't want to upset my mother. So I got a hold of my sister. She was next to me. She's one of the funniest person I've ever met. She's had diabetes her whole life. She's lost her eyesight. She's had all kinds of health issues, but she's very, very positive and funny. So I said, I talked to her to try to get my mind in a different place. So I said, I can't believe we spent so much money on this stupid casket. She goes, Daddy loved people. He loved food. He's going to heaven with the saints. Oh, that's nice. Then she says, did you ever wonder what happened that day? I said, what day? The day of the Last Supper. Did you ever wonder what happened that day? What are you talking about? I don't know. You think Jesus stood up and said, hey, anybody wants to be in a picture, get on this side of the table. She heard that joke and thought it was a good time to tell it. And it was, because I couldn't stop laughing now. So now I'm trying to pretend I'm crying because I don't want people to think I'm laughing. I made a big mess. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Oh my goodness. But I have to say, it stopped me from my heart breaking right at that moment, you know? And at the funeral afterwards, we all go back to the house. One of my girlfriends from Rochester came and she had these black lace gloves on that her fingers came through. And I'm like, what the hell is she Halloweening? What the hell? You know, but I didn't say anything. I was just grateful she came. But my mother comes in the kitchen. She goes, who is that woman with the lace gloves like a botan? What the heck is she? And I said, that must be one of Donna's friends. Humor skills, the ability to take yourself lightly while you take your work seriously. We all have important jobs. The things we do matter, but we can do them with a different attitude. And that different attitude, I promise you, will make life so much easier. And it will bring in more sales too, I gotta say. To have a disciplined sense in the joy of being alive. Like I said, I travel a lot. There's no place like Syracuse, New York. There really isn't. You can go a lot of places for vacations and stuff, but what a beautiful town this is. The people are great. You know, they'll do anything for you. It's like family everywhere I go. You just have to appreciate what you have. And it's just, I can't wait to come back. Every time I leave here, I can't wait to come back. It just, this is home, right? Well, let's leave you with some humor tools. The first one is a pep talk. Now, you should have 3 people in your life that when you are having a bad day, let's say you lost a sale or whatever it might be, you can call those 3 people. They remind you of your successes. They put you back on track. That's not whining and complaining. That's saying, I'm having a tough time, and then your friend helps you back, right? You got to have that. My father used to give us what we call a mini vacation. Every Sunday, we ate together at the dining room table. We had the crystal, the china, mother made a beautiful meal. And we all sat together. If I ever said, can I go with Susie to the mall or whatever, there was no mall, but he would look at me like I was nuts. It's Sunday. Oh, yeah, it's Sunday. And sometimes it would just be our family. And most of the time, an aunt, an uncle, the cousins, whoever might come, they just drop in and we sit around the table and for all day. Then we play bingo. I mean, it was just lovely. And after dinner, we would go for a ride. Everybody piling in the car, and we lived in Fayetteville, so Daddy would drive up in Pompey where, he didn't know anybody. And we'd wait till we saw people sitting on a porch. And as soon as we saw strangers sitting on the porch, he would pull up in the driveway and toot the horn, and we'd wave. And the people would go, who the hell? And as soon as they got this close to the car, we'd hightail it out of the driveway and hightail it down the road, and we would laugh, and the people would still be going, who the hell was that? And my mother would say, you teach the kids to be stupid. They're going to go to jail. You're no good. He was not teaching us to be stupid. He was teaching us to laugh together as a family. And what a beautiful lesson that was. He's been gone since 95. If I close my eyes, I can see my father's beautiful face laughing. I can smell his cigar. I can hear that laughter. That's the memory. That's the legacy he gave me. Now, I know we want to leave our kids with money and houses and this and that. None of that really matters. What matters is when they close their eyes, what do they think of? Because I was a single mom when my son was 6 months old and my daughter 18 months old. And I took care of those kids by myself till they grew up. I'm still taking care of Johnny. But if I died in my 20s, when my kids were little, this is what they would remember. Because that's all I did was yell at the kids, it seemed like. I was a nervous wreck. And if this is you, when you go home, I want you to look in the mirror and say, if today was my last day, what would the people that I love, what would they remember about me? And if that doesn't come from a place of joy, you need to change the way you live your life so that it will. Stop being disagreeable. Stop being, I had a big lesson to learn with my daughter, that she was the mother of these 3 children, not me. And I have to let her raise them in her way. That was hard for me because I'm an Italian mother. You got to spank them. Otherwise, But I will tell you this. One day I was at the house and Joseph didn't want to wear his coat and it was going to be cold. And she's, she gets down on his level. Joseph, it's going to be cold when you come home. You have to wear a coat. I don't want to, but I know, but I'd rather you put the coat on. And she's discussing it with him. I'm in the kitchen. I'm in the bedroom thinking, are you kidding me? There's how you get him to put the coat on. And she goes, so after this discussion, and he's still saying, but why, but why, but why? She goes, because I'm your mother and I said, so put the damn coat on. And I came out of the bedroom and went, da 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 da. Oh, my God. This is an old thing, but I want you to do it. When you get home tonight, if you have a journal at the house, get a journal out. And I want you to write 5 things that you're grateful for today. 5 things. And every day when you go to bed, write those 5 things down. And I'm telling you, it could be the coffee was good, or it could be I got a new booking, or I sold a house, whatever it might be. It could be big, it could be small, but you're counting your blessings. And then when you have a bad day, you take the journal out, you read it over, you're like, hey, life's not so bad. Look at that. Oh, I remember that day when I saw Nancy. Oh, I remember that day, whatever it might be. And it helps you. It really does. Because the more we're grateful for, the more we realize, we don't have it so bad. I'm leaving you with a poem by Edwin Markham. He says, there is a destiny that makes us brothers and sisters. Nobody goes this way alone. All that we send into the lives of others comes back into our own. And I think that is exactly what this whole program is all about. We all leave our homes every morning because we need a certain amount of success and money and power. Some of us need more than others, but we all need it. I want you to know all the success, money, and power in the world will get you the biggest, fanciest house in the best part of the city, but it will never buy you a home. That is different. Success, money, and power will get you a bed with bells and whistles and even a mirror. It's never going to buy you a good night's sleep. And yes, success, money, and power can get you a good time, but not peace of mind. I want you all to have the things that money and power and success can get you because you work hard and you deserve it. But all of the things that are absolutely free, if you just learn to have true joy in your heart and you share that with the people in your life, you will be truly blessed. Thank you.
All right, don't go anywhere. Before we get into some questions that some of us may have for you, I have a little Yvonne story. Yeah, this is a good one. This goes back. We've known each other for a while. And I come from 6 kids, brothers and sisters. And my brother, my sister-in-law passed away. I don't know if you remember this. And my brother gets a new girlfriend fairly quick. And in an Italian family, fairly quick could be 20 years. All right? But fairly quick. So my oldest sister and my other 2 sisters, they hate her. But we're all going to get together in Florida. We're all going to do kumbaya. So I talked to you. And I said, I need about 10 or 12 of them noses. Really quick. I did a dirty dozen. And I brought them to Florida. And we were in this Mexican restaurant. And there's my sister looking at the new girlfriend. She's got a frown on her face and no one likes her. And then she's mad at Joe. And the other 2 sisters are, they're upset and we're drunk, so we don't care. All right. So I said, I want you all to do me a favor. What? Put these on. They went, come on. I just put them on, humor me. Just put the noses on. I said, and you're going to leave them on until you start smiling. All right. And have a good time over it. I don't know if that picture, you can pull that picture up.
Oh my God.
Now, if you look off to the left, I don't know if you can see it. I have my family, there they are, and I have my sister off to the left. I don't know if you can see her, but picture this. Picture someone with a look like this with a red nose on, but it was good enough. It worked. And let me tell you something, that was the best night that we ever had. So
It's great.
I thank you for that. And I know it's going in the journal tonight. All right. Me running into you again today. Okay. With that being said, thank you very much for being here. Have a wonderful and humorous day.